Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well out there in the land of the internet. So Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and why not get that special someone in your life a new game for their retro gaming collection? I have a friend out here who really likes the Super Famicom, the Japanese Super Nintendo, and I thought to myself, you know what? I should get them a game for their collection, and I thought the game Rendering Ranger 2 for the Super Famicom is pretty good. I heard really good things about it. It should only cost a couple bucks, shouldn't it? So let's check eBay here and see how much it costs. And does anybody need to buy a spare kidney? Games are fun, that much is true. In the modern era of gaming, it is easy to get what game you want, when you want. You can order games online, or if you're feeling really adventurous, you can go to a store and pick up a copy of Samurai Kagura Peach Ball for the Nintendo Switch. A game not in stores? Cool. A digital version of a game is just a few button presses away. However, not all games are easy to get a hold of. Two games I have in my collection are Kingdom Hearts, The Story So Far, and Blue Reflection, a 2018 and 2017 release respectively. You'd think both of these titles would be readily available, but look at these prices. In the information age, it's easy for publishers to keep track of game sales. Are people buying NES classics then flipping them online for absurd prices? Well, just put out a few more. It's pretty rare to have, well, rare games happen in the information era, but a few games do slip through the cracks. A modern example of a scarce game is NBA Elite 11 for the PlayStation 3. It was developed by EA back in 2010, but was pulled at the last minute due to the project being a mess, but somehow through sheer incompetence, a few copies managed to leak out into the market. And by a few, I mean less than 10 copies of the bastard. Still, you're more likely to run across a copy of NBA Elite 11 than see the Pistons win the playoffs again. Sorry Detroit fans, I calls it like I sees it. A lot of the scarce games we're talking about in this video come before and around the turn of the millennium. Companies weren't keeping track of their data, they weren't keeping track of their ROMs. The internet wasn't ingrained in our daily lives yet. Keep in mind, this was the era that made Creed successful. Do you think there'd be enough copies of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Xbox to go around? An infamous example of a game being pulled out of production was the English copy of King of Fighters 2000 for the AES. SNK made even worse choices than Scott Stapp did in his life, believe it or not, and it led to SNK declaring bankruptcy in 2001. It's hard to find a reason why the English version of King of Fighters 2000 was so limited, but rumors are the game was actually never announced for the US market and distributor Neo Geo Freak had to pick up the slack. It's confirmed that no more than 100 copies of this version exist, but if you can afford to collect for the AES, you can probably afford a stupidly rare cart that's worth $8 on the eShop. A system notorious for its awesomely limited run of games is the Sega Saturn. Thanks to a combination of infighting between Sega Japan and Sega America branches and general bad ideas, the Saturn didn't have a chance in the West. Games like Burning Rangers, Magical Knight Raiders, Shining Force 3, and cult classic Panzer Dragoon Saga are all games that define the Saturn, and are all games that have extremely low production runs. Some say as low as 5,000 copies for a game in some cases. Thankfully, Japanese copies of these games can be found for a good price. Now, you might think you're a Saturn baller because you have all these titles and more, but trust me, you ain't shit until you see the Japanese obscurities. Psychic Assassin Tawamaru was a really cool 2D action game that was a victim of legal issues thanks to its publisher, Time Warner Interactive, going bankrupt, leading to a small production run. You got Tawamaru 2, and hell, I'll throw in some of the other obscurities in there like Hyperduel and Radiant Silvergun. Radiant Silvergun actually isn't that hard to find, it's just really expensive. The trifecta of limited Saturn games is Heim Waltz, a home browsing simulator, Eiffel Home, another home browsing simulator, and Deli Soba Deluxe, a soba delivery game. Eiffel Home and Heim Waltz saw extremely limited production, said to be in the 50s for both of their runs. Why someone thought that viewing houses needed to be a Saturn game, I will never know. At least we can definitively say that the home marketing genre in games is one not really worth revisiting. Guess I got to go back to the drawing board for my Property Brothers fighting game. Deli Soba Deluxe is even weirder. It was handed out to audiences at a game show called Tokyo Game Park back in the 90s, so it's hard to say how many copies are out there. If I had to guess, it can't be many. I guess Sega thought that the soba delivery game genre didn't have much appeal. Despite its obscurity, I can only say Deli Soba Deluxe is at least an actual game with time trials and a track creator. Who made this game? Cave? Cave? Like Bullet Hell Shooting Masters Cave made a freaking soba delivery game? Well, I guess you gotta keep food on the table somehow. And by food, I mean soba. But do not sleep on soba. Soba is a really good meal.
You are about to witness the future in video game entertainment. the TurboGrafx 16 Entertainment Super System.
Another console a victim to obscurity and high prices for the collecting scene is the TurboGrafx 16, also known as the PC Engine in Japan. The system and the CD add-on were pretty big in Japan, but thanks to poor marketing and stiff competition from Sega and Nintendo, the system didn't really have much of a chance in North America. A lot of the games for the system are hard to come by these days, but the one game that everybody has their eye on is Magical Chase. It's the rarest game for the North American Turbo library, and it's often said to be the one game that completionists need to finish their sets. I've heard rumors that there are less than 2,000 English copies of Magical Chase out there, and the Japanese version and the Game Boy versions of the game aren't much easier to get a hold of. So, you have an English version of Magical Chase? Good on ya. Now it's time to take on the English Super CD library. So remember, the TurboGrafx didn't sell that well. Then you try to put out a CD add-on that needed the TurboGrafx to play. Yeah, no, it's no wonder these games didn't sell that well. They were trying to make Lightning shit itself twice, and failed. Games like Godzilla, The Dynastic Hero, Arizonk, Bonk 3, and Cotton are all extremely rare and darn near impossible to find these days thanks to their low production runs. Speaking of which, why are all the Cotton games so damn expensive? Did no one believe in Cotton? It has fairy bikini babes on the package. It should have been huge. We should be up to Magical Nights Cotton Final Mix Cross Turbo by now. Yeah. For Japan, the PC Engine and the CD add-on were much more successful as mentioned earlier, but not all games got the spotlight. Ginga Fuke Densetsu Sapphire, aka Sapphire, gets the most attention from collectors thanks to its very fun gameplay and really good graphics for the system. But the real deal is Darius Alpha. To get this game, you had to buy both versions of Darius Plus, the Hue card and the CD version of the game. You had to take the coupons from the manuals, then send them to Hudson, and then maybe, just maybe, you would have a chance at winning a copy of Darius Alpha. Basically what Darius Alpha is Darius Plus but with some graphical changes to make use of the Super FX, the turbocharged version of the PC Engine. So yeah, that's why this game's kind of hard to find. It was basically a raffle for a amped up version of the game that had a different system to play it on. So yeah, not much else to add on that one. And now we're at the creme de la creme, the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Nintendo Famicom. The NES is a very popular system for gamers to collect for, and by gamers, I mean people who have more money than common sense. That's the only reason why I can fathom someone dropping 3 digits on a copy of Color a Goddamn Dinosaur. Stadium Events is usually the last game collectors need to get their complete set of NES games. Stadium Events was released by Bandai, but recalled when Nintendo bought the rights to the game and the Family Fun Fitness Pad and renamed it to World Class Track Meet and the Power Pad. How many copies are out there of Stadium Events is up to discussion. Some say around 200 exist, others put it around 2,000 for the North American version of Stadium Events. The European version is a bit easier to find. Regardless, for the officially licensed North American NES games, Stadium Events is the hardest to find. And I think we'd all like to get our hands on the elusive Nintendo World Championship games, or either the gray card or the gold version, but good luck out there. The gold version was given away as a Nintendo Power promo, only 26 were made. Over the years, only 13, I believe, have been found, and at this point, I'm guessing the rest have been lost to time and space. And as always, it gets weirder when you step outside to Japan and Asia. Yasuda Fire and Marine Safety Rally is a very bad racing game made by bad people given out by a Japanese insurance company, Yasuda Insurance. What little is known about Yasuda is that it was never an official release and it saw super low distribution. Even within the Japanese collecting scene, people don't know how it even got out to market. Some say it was given out at events held by Yasuda, some say it was given out when people signed up for the service. Yasuda Insurance will charge you out the ass for health insurance, but sign up now and get a free game. Where do I sign up? Information about Yasuda is very scarce, and trying to find a copy, let alone one with the box and map, is even harder to do. And perhaps the weirdest example of a very limited NES game is the Hong Kong version of Mahjong. Now, I'm no Mahjong expert, I can't even win a game on Easy and Yakuza, but I do know that there are 2 different types of Mahjong, a Japanese rule set and an Asian or China rule set. The NES Mahjong game was based off the Japanese rule set. Makes sense as it was based off the Famicom version of Mahjong, which used the Japanese rule set. What I'm guessing happened is that when they put out the version of Mahjong for the NES Hong Kong market is that no one really took to it because the rules were different from what they were used to. As a result, maybe copies got recalled, maybe they just didn't make a lot in the first place. The end result is that the Hong Kong NES version of Mahjong is extremely hard to find. And it just goes to show you that even as something as simple as a Mahjong game can have a unique story behind it. Personally, if you're looking for a mahjong game to play these days, I recommend Hot Gimmick for the Nintendo Switch, as that one has anime butts and boobs in it. When I made this video, there were two thoughts that came across my mind. Why put so much time, money, and energy into a game just to barely have it have any shelf life? And is there any future for some of these games that have been seemingly lost to time and space? Well, I think I have those answers right now. Frequently, a game doesn't sell well or goes under the radar until people go looking for some obscurities to play. Sometimes the people in the suits with the money do their illegal mumbo-jumbo and cut a game's shelf life short. Some games were never meant to be retail releases in the first place and just get out to market. Other times, Square doesn't know what it's doing. Excuse me, did I say other times? I mean all the goddamn time. But hey, not everything is lost to the unforgiving flow of time. Summer Carnival 92 Rekka, or just Rekka for short, was a game given away at a competition in Japan during the summer of 92. It was only given out at an event, meaning it was very hard to find on the aftermarket for the longest time, but thankfully Nintendo brought it back for the eShop on the 3DS. Now everyone can experience this boundary-pushing game for a reasonable price. Other obscure games like Gunbird and Zero Gunner 2 have seen nice re-releases on the Nintendo Switch, Star Fox 2 finally released on the Super Nintendo Classic, and Nintendo made more copies of Devil's Third. Well, they all can't be zingers. So there you have it. There are some rare and weird and obscure games out there for you gaming collectors and gaming historians. There's a lot of rare and weird obscure games out there that I could do like a whole nother like 3, 4, or 5 videos about this subject and still have material to work with. But hey, you know what? Much like any good video idea, this one has sequel potential. We'll get those to another day when I don't have anything else creative to talk about. I think it's important to mark these games in the history books because it represents a point in time. It represents what a company was making at that point in time. And for collectors, I think videos like this are important because if you see these games at like a Goodwill or a gaming store or at a garage sale, jump on that shit because you never know when they're going to come up again. Thankfully, a lot of these games have been backed up online, so if you do want to check them out, you know where to look. But you never heard that from me. And on that note, I shall end the video. Thank you for watching, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit me up on Patreon at ZMan if you feel so kind. Follow me at Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at ZMan, and I'll see you around for the next video. And apologies for those who I had to take videos from YouTube because for the nature of this video, it was kind of hard to record my own footage, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, we'll see you next week for the Kingdom Hearts 3 review. That one's gonna be a pretty fun one. Anyway, take it easy, everybody. Later, and happy Valentine's Day.